Incredible blessing to see such a great crowd here tonight, and as far as I know, nobody's mad, so that makes it even better. So it's great to have you here. We welcome our college students here who are observing county government at work. And so now let's stand. Let's have the invocation and the pledge by the Honorable Mary Airwood.
If you would, bow your heads. Oh, Lord, I love you. And I love to see the people of Newberry County that's interested in the county, Lord. Give all these council people the mind and the ability to make the best decisions for all of our county residents, Lord. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Item number 1 on our agenda is our employee recognition. So we're going to come around and give those certificates. As I call your name, if you would come forward and then stay here, as we would like to have a picture for Andrew from Newberry Observer. First on the agenda, number 1 in your hearts, 2, 20 years, Mr. Sean Carnes, Newberry County Sheriff's Office. Next, hiring at the same time, if I remember correctly, back long ago in another life of mine, that's Casey Rimbez, 20 years. They fought over who was getting what radio number, if I remember correctly, a long time ago. I can remember that, but where I was at yesterday, I'm not so sure. Kirby Richardson, 10 years. Brenda McCracken, 10 years. Awesome, thank you so much. Donna Lombeck. She was still not even born yet. So thankful for you. Clayton Babb, 25 years. Randall, or with those who love him, call him Ron Abrams. You have to work the whole 25 years. Ben Chapman, 25 years. Who loves you, buddy? Maggie Mills, 15 years. John Curley, 15 years. Nicholas Gilmore, 5 years. Susan Hanby, 5 years.
She also says thank you very much.
Okay. And Melissa Vanderford, 5 years. I've said for a long time that the employees, the people, are the people that make Newberry County special and important. If you did the math on those certificates, which I did before I came here, using a calculator to make sure I got it right, that was about 225 years of experience for our employees in Newberry County. I think that speaks volumes about the commitment to Newberry County and what they mean to this county. So I'm going to squeeze in with Ms. Donna, and if you're ready to come on over, can I put my arm around you too? All right.
3, 2.
All right, next on the agenda is public appearances. Our lovely and esteemed auditor with her 45 years is asked to let the sheriff go first as he has another commitment. So since she asked, we're going to do it. So Mr. Jimmy Smith and Sheriff Lee Foster about the Public Safety Memorial. Would you please come forward? Go back to the microphone, Mr. Jimmy, so they can hear you, if you would, please, sir. That way the people at home can hear you.
Oh, excuse me.
That's all right.
All those people in that little box up there.
You on
Thank you,
TV.
Sheriff. Sheriff told me to let him do something.
Okay.
Well, we're doing a good job.
Yes, sir.
We sure are. The sheriff has really turned out to help me real good and lead me and show me. And the only problem we got is the monument will not be put up on this coming Sunday, the 11th. Problem is, we hadn't got it, they didn't get it made, and I wanted a couple of things put on it, and so we'll set another date when we're gonna do it, because I done talked to you about helping me.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And we'll be ready for that. Tonight, we feeding all the first responders out at Newberry Shrine Club. And I'm gonna tell you what, you ought to see it. And I hope you do.
Yes, sir.
And then Saturday, we're gonna do a parade with all first responders. If they're not there, they're sick or something, we have to excuse them, but all first responders, I told the sheriff that we was gonna get all these police cars and let everybody see what we got in Newberry County, and county cars, sheriff's department cars, EMS, and also fire department. Let everybody see these county fire. Man, do y'all really know what y'all got out here in this county? If you don't, you need to ride and look what y'all got. Y'all got this county protected perfect. I mean perfect. These fire departments need to be patted on the back, and I'm gonna do it as long as I got breath in my body,
Yes, sir.
because they really need it. And the EMS, they're doing a super job tonight, because all of them's out there at the Shrine Club. And we got a good crowd out there. Like I asked you, if y'all want to come out afterwards, if you get out, we appreciate y'all coming out and talking to your people and letting them know how much you love them, how much you appreciate what they're doing. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Foster here.
Yes, sir.
And let him
Thank you.
say a couple of words.
For everybody here that doesn't know this gentleman, it's Jimmy Smith. Jimmy's retired captain with the Newberry City Fire Department. He's with the Greenwood Fire Department. One time you were with EMS too, weren't you, Jimmy?
Yes.
And he's got a long, storied past in the public safety community. Jimmy came up with this idea of that we didn't have a memorial for first responders, and he's worked really hard on this. He's got the funding together. There's no tax dollars involved in it. The only thing that we need to really ask from county council is permission to place it on a piece of county property. Initially, we had thought about putting it on Monument Square in front of the Opera House, but that's pretty much been reserved for people that have been into the military service. And we looked around, and one of the suggestions that was made up here in county council at one time was in front of the old courthouse, historic courthouse on the square. Jimmy went before the Architectural Review Board, which covers things in the historical district, and it was suggested that the monument go if you're facing the old courthouse, in the little lawn area to the left of the facade, And I don't know, did y'all get the picture
Yes, sir.
here?
We got it.
Okay. It's the little grassy area. Certainly wouldn't take that whole area up because it's 32 by 20 by 8. It's not a very large monument, but in that area, and that's where the flagpole is for the front of the courthouse. So that was the area that we thought was appropriate, and the Architectural Review Board has approved the monument, and I believe y'all have that as well. So at that juncture, the monument is not in, so we have some time to work on it, but we do want to make some adjustments as well.
Yes, sir. I had one request that I made to Mr. Jimmy to add county on there, and he was in agreement to do that. And I understand from Mr. Iglesias that we'll have a resolution prepared and have it on a future agenda approving the placement of that monument in that location.
It was a pleasure that the Architectural Review Board unanimously supported it and liked the idea. I do want to bring out too, this was Jimmy Smith's idea, and we had been talking about this for a long, long time. And we had approached many years ago about this, and of course it was, you raise the funds, you can put it up. Just never got it off the ground. Jimmy came in and did it, got it off the ground, sought funding for it, got the funding for it. And to me, the brilliance behind this is it's a memorial and an honorarium to people that are first responders.
Yes.
We don't have the names of those that have died in the line of duty. Mr. John Favors did a magnificent job of recognizing that and also finding the information on the undocumented hero that we had. But Jimmy had a great idea, I thought, that we not put the names of those that lost in the line of duty, but it would be understood that it's there too, but it's also honoring those that are serving currently, like the folks you had come up here today.
Yes, sir. Any questions or comments from anybody on council?
Awesome idea.
I love it.
Great idea.
We appreciate the effort. We appreciate your service, Sheriff Foster. Mr. Jimmy, we appreciate your service and both of your commitment to this. And as Mr. Jimmy rightly said, to the commitment from our first responders, law enforcement, EMS, fire and rescue, when people here outside of the city of Newberry, this county is run almost entirely by volunteers except for the EMS units and our law enforcement. That's mind-boggling in today's world to have that kind of service and fortitude. And so I don't think we should ever take that lightly or for granted.
Well, thank you, sir. And,
Thank you.
we'd like to thank Ms. Lomanek for letting us go first, so we can go out and enjoy the festivities at the Shrine Club. If you look at me, you understand I enjoy eating, so I will be joining them.
But I noticed Mr. Jimmy's been around county government enough that he said, if y'all get out in time, so he knows we might be here a while. Thank you, Sheriff Foster.
We're gonna go, okay?
Yes, sir, Mr. Jimmy. Thank you here.
And let me say one more thing. On this thing that we're gonna do for the past firemen and EMS
Yeah.
workers and all, we're gonna put one, it's still working.
Okay,
We're gonna put one out at the training ground.
gotcha.
For that.
Yes, sir.
And we thought that would be really capable.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jimmy. All right, Ms. Donna Lomanek, our auditor, with a bit of good news today.
Yes. County Council Chairman, County Council persons, I come before you tonight for the 14th time to recommend the county ordinary levy and set the county bond millage. First, I'd like to thank our team. Has worked real hard to get all this together this year. First, I'd like to thank Christopher Iglesias, Debbie Cromer, Karen Bremer, Karen Smith, Melinda Long, and of course, my staff of the Auditor's Office. Without these people, my task would be impossible, and we do have a good team, and I appreciate all of them. I want to get my thank yous in first. Now, for our good news. As Newberry County Auditor, I am officially setting the 2022 tax levy for all counties and school bonded indebtedness purposes is authorized by Section 4-15-150 and 59-71-150 of the 1976 Code of Laws of South Carolina. I am presenting the 2022 tax levy for school ordinary purposes as set by the Newberry County Board of Education per letter dated August the 8th, 2022, which stated in part, the 2022 school ordinary tax levy be set at 180 mills, which is the same as it was last year. Per County of Newberry Budget Ordinance Number 4-7-22, I am recommending that County Council levy 121 mills for county ordinary purposes and 0 mills for reserve fund. The 2022 county lease purchase, I am levying 3 mills. County general obligation bonds, 2020A, I am levying 1 1/10 mill. County general obligation bonds of 2020B, I am levying 5/10 of a mill. County general obligation bonds of 2018C, I'm going to levy 5/10 of a mill. Per County of Newberry Budget Ordinance Number 4-8-22, I am recommending that County Council levy 6.9 mills for community services for a total 2022 levy for county purposes of 133 mills. Last year, it was 134 mills. As you can see, I have a presentation this year. For school purposes, the Newberry County Board of Education has levied the 180 mills. School ordinary purposes, they levied 53 mills, for a total of 2022 levy for school purposes of 233 mills, which is the same as it was last year. The total levy for county purposes is 133 mills. School purposes is 233 mills. The total 2022 tax levy for both the county and school purposes is 366 mills. The anticipated value of a mill this year is going to be $160,370. For school purposes, which is the bonds, it's going to be $165,806. School purposes for school operating is $105,997 mills. Respectfully submitted, Donna Lomanek, your Newberry County Auditor. And as you can see on my chart, the top one is county ordinary. You can see how it's come down. I went back to the first year, 2009, when I became auditor. It has historically came down every year. Now, the bonds had gone up, but this year they're coming down for 2012. So I think county council has held it together pretty good for our county citizens.
Not often you get to hear a tax reduction when it comes to a new budget, so what a blessing to hear. Any questions or comments from council?
We appreciate everything that you and everyone in the county did to get those results. And if we could do that every year, I truly appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, in my pie, you can see the school general fund part and see the county part is in the darker blue. You can see our part. Most of it is the school general fund and the school bonds for our levy. Thank you very much.
And I'm not afraid to remind people that when they fuss about their taxes either.
Well, if they have any complaints, they always come to us. So
Yes, ma'am.
that
Anybody
works.
else?
Thank all of you for your hard work.
Anybody else? Thank you, Ms. Lomanek, for that report and for that great news. Item number 4 on our agenda is additions or deletions to the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? Did I skip 3? I love it. Adoption of the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the Newberry County Council meeting minutes of August 17th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes as they were presented to us? There's a motion by Mr. Shealy, second by Mr. Reeder. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, all in favor by show of hands. Opposed likewise, it carries unanimously. Thank you so much for keeping me straight there. Now we have additions or deletions to the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion that we approve the agenda as published? Motion by Ms. Airwood, second by Ms. Hip. Mr. Hip, is there discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Opposed likewise. I am so sorry.
That's quite all right. I've been called a lot worse.
I'm over today, it seems like I'm speaking. Maybe I should stop. Item number 5 on our agenda is our proclamation of Hispanic Heritage Month. And this is going to be presented to Miss Liz Riviere. I'd like to read it, and then we'll vote on it, and then we'll have you come forward to present it, okay? This is a proclamation of Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas the County of Newberry encourages and promotes strong and inclusive communities that recognize and celebrate efforts to bring people together for a greater good. And whereas we commemorate the strong and visible roots of Hispanic and Latino heritage in the national, regional, and local landscape of the nation. And whereas September 15th to October 15th is National Hispanic Heritage Month, and in which many federal agencies such as the Library of Congress, National Park Service, and Smithsonian Institution join in paying tribute to the generations of Hispanic Americans who have positively influenced and enriched our nation and society. And whereas the date September 15th is significant because it is the anniversary of the independence for Latin American countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, and additionally Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence days on September 16th and 18th, respectively. Whereas Newberry has many families representing different Hispanic cultures and traditions from Puerto Rico, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Chile, and other South American countries. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month has been celebrated since 1989, and whereas the Hispanic community in Newberry makes a significant contribution to the cultural, educational, and economic vitality of Newberry. Now, therefore, it is ordered, I, Newberry County Council, do hereby declare September 15th through October 15th, 2022, as National Hispanic Heritage Month in recognition of the great contributions of Hispanic culture in our nation, state, and community. Is there a motion that we present this resolution tonight? Motion by Mr. Shealy. Is there a second? Yes. By Mr. Reeder. Is there discussion? All in favor by show of hands. It carries unanimously. Ms. Liz, would you come forward? Sure. You bring whoever you want up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excuse me, I have a few words to say.
Okay, help yourself.
Thank you, council, and thank you, Newberry County, for recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month. The community does do a lot, the Hispanic community does do a lot for Newberry. And I just want to invite everybody in the community on September 15th from the Newberry College with the Muller Center. We have gotten together, Carlton Keinert and myself, to do events through the whole month. On February 15th, for the, excuse me, for el mes de la herencia hispana, Hispanic Heritage Month, we're going to start off on on September 15th in front of the fountain with El Grito, the yell, the shout. And that is a reenactment of what is done in Mexico. Somebody will get out, we'll have several people shouting, Viva Mexico, Viva Guatemala, Viva, to get the people rejuvenated, to get the people excited. We'll also have music, dancers, food, and a lot of fellowship. We're going to do that September 15th, about 6 p.m. by the fountain at the college. All this will be sponsored by the Muller Center. We will also have a public presentation from the county. Christopher Iglesias has said he would help with the proclamation, and also the mayor for the city. There'll be a lot of fellowship, a lot of fun. Okay, on September 20th and October 4th, we're going to have what they call table talk at the college in the cafeteria. We will have some important Hispanics in Newberry County and in the state who will be coming. They'll sit down at a table during lunchtime and speak with the students, give their point of view, their history for being here in the state. October 5th, we will do Sube tu voz, raise your voice. We will have college students doing reenactments, speeches, a little history of some famous Hispanic American leaders in the country, astronauts, political leaders, actresses, actors, different people, and they will be giving that out. Now, we don't know exactly where we're going to do that yet, but that will be given out to the public. We will end on October 12th with it, which is El Día de la Raza, the day of the race. And we will have some speakers and music and some fellowshipping at Wiles Chapel. This is going to benefit a lot of the students at the college. They will get extra points for participating and for attending some of these events. And I want to again thank you, Council, for recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month. And everyone is invited to our events. Hopefully, we will see everybody there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Item number 6 on our agenda is Newberry County Council resolution supporting the South Carolina American Revolution Centennial Commission and creating the Newberry County 250 Committee. And this resolution states, whereas South Carolina created the South Carolina American Revolution Centennial Commission, the 250th Anniversary Commission, also known as SC 250. Whereas the mission of SC 250 Commission is to commemorate and promote South Carolina's role in the American Revolution by educating, engaging, and inspiring South Carolinians and visitors. Whereas the SC 250 Commission is seeking partnerships with counties and municipalities to further its mission. Whereas this partnership will be formed by creating a local committee called the Newberry County 250 Committee. Whereas the Newberry County 250 Committee will focus on important events, people, and places within Newberry County to commemorate and promote Newberry County's role in the American Revolution by educating, engaging, and inspiring South Carolinians and visitors. Whereas local projects, i.e. celebrations, restoration of local historical markers, rebuilding of local historical infrastructure will enhance historical tourism opportunities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Newberry County Council hereby recognizes the Newberry County 250 Committee as the official committee. Will partner with the South Carolina American Revolution Centennial Commission, SC 250, will support initiatives by the SC 250 Commission, and will support the Newberry County 250 Committee in their local efforts to educate, engage, and inspire South Carolinians and our visitors, thereby enhancing historical tourism opportunities in Newberry County. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Motion by Mr. Hipp. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Airwood. Any discussion? All those in favor by show of hands. Opposed likewise? Opposed? Okay, all right, so we have 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Did you vote? Okay, all right, okay. And Mr. Scurry abstained, so the motion would carry 4-1 and another abstention. Who's gonna accept this for us tonight? Or all of you can come if you would like. Come on up. It's like Christ, as long as you bring somebody from Whitmire with you, you bring anybody you want. This is our own historian for the Whitmire community. Okay, 2 rows, he says. Y'all come on down front.
For people on the front, you know who you are.
Come on in. Yeah, there you go. You come on. How about that? Are we still good? There you go.
And someone in the back I can't see who's trying to hide.
I represent Lawrence County.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody want to say anything?
Well, I'll have to tell you, that's the first time I've ever had the resolution passed before I got to talk. I appreciate it. And the bad news is, after everybody else, I'm not going to talk about food. Y'all, everybody's been up here talked about food. I do want to tell you a little bit about what we're trying to do at the state level. The State Commission was formed by the legislature with the governor, the House, and the Senate picking members. We have 2 professional sort of members, the South Carolina Department of Archives and History and the South Carolina Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. That commission is part of what I want to talk about today, and the other part of it is something called the Liberty Trail. These are 2 projects that are working together. They've both got the same goals. The first goal is education, because education should always be the first goal. But in this case, the education we're talking about is that South Carolina played a tremendously significant role in winning independence. And that has been forgotten since the unpleasantness called the Civil War. Before that time, the South's part in winning the war was in the books. After that, the South was written out of the books. And we want to bring that back. We want to just resurrect, reclaim that heritage. As a commission, we determined that we wanted to cover the years from 1770 to 1783. 1783 being the end because that's when the treaty was signed. People forget it sometimes, but the state of South Carolina became a nation at that time. There was no United States. There were 13 separate colonies, there were 13 separate treaties, but that's something else we need to re-educate people about. We have determined through the statute and through our meetings that we want to tell the stories of all the people who were in the colony at that time. And I spoke with some of you about this earlier. We want to tell the stories of the men on both sides who fought. That's what you always talk about when you talk about a war, but we want to talk about the underrepresented and unrepresented people. And that means the women and children who really suffered tremendously during that war. Both sides were prone to hang people and burn their houses and leave them with what they had left, what they had on at the time they were sitting around the fire. We also want to tell the story of the persons of color. We want to tell the story because this was an integrated war. The troop units were integrated. They fought side by side. We want to tell that story. Our bywords are inclusivity and diversity. And that's the way we want to make this done. But we need the help of everybody to tell that story properly. And we want all those people involved in it. And I know I've got a limited time, but I don't want to bore you, but what we're trying to do is do as much of this possible in a free basis, make it available to people on a website. We've got a kind of a beta test program website up right now, but it's going to be a lot bigger. We've got a timeline, a bibliography, a lot of work on new road markers, as was just mentioned earlier. We're doing research that hasn't been done before. We're expanding it. And we've even gotten down, I thought it was kind of silly at first, but kind of like it now. We got our own license plate. And for those of you in the back, the difference about this and what IPTE and the Gamecock Club sell is that they're trying to make money. This one, you can swap your present license plate, and you pay $40 for every 3 years to have a license plate. That's what this costs, the same thing. And this is, I think it's prettier than the other one, but everybody have to pick their own. Y'all decide that on your own. But anyway, we're just using it to publicize the thing. We're working through the basis of county committees, and that was mentioned in the resolution. The committee you all have got is a good committee. It's still growing. They're going to look for additional people. I've talked to some of you about that, but your committee here includes the mayor, it includes the museum, it includes 2 historical societies, it includes the Sons of the American Revolution, the Daughters of the American Revolution, representatives of Whitmire and Prosperity, almost said the other one. And it really is a good committee, but it needs to be expanded, and it will be expanded. The SAR is taking the lead on this. They're going to serve as the leadership and the financial basis for it. This thing is not just going to be a fireworks display. Our first budget, which was just this past fiscal year because of the pandemic, we've been working since 2019, was $1.9 million. This year we're working on $7.4 million, and next year we're going to ask for about twice that. The reasoning is this. As was mentioned in that resolution, we want to set up these sites, these Revolutionary War sites, across the state, across Newberry County. We want to bring people in for the second part of those goals that I was telling you about. And that's what's technically called cultural heritage tourism, but what it really is local economic development. We have hundreds of thousands of people going through our state on our interstates, and normally they go to Charleston or Myrtle Beach. We want to get them into rural South Carolina. We want to get them into Newberry County, and we want them to come here and stop on the way and buy a pack of crackers, buy Coca-Cola, buy a T-shirt, get a hat, start eating at our restaurants, start staying at our motels and bed, and spending money. We want them to spend money, then we want them to get back on the interstates and go home. But I mean, it's greed, okay? But it's something that can really help the state of South Carolina. I'm going to ask that we show you a 6-minute video of the other half of this, which is something called the Liberty Trail. The problem with what the Liberty Trail is doing and what we're doing is on these site things, you have to have a place that you can get off the 2-lane road. If you stop on one of our 2-lane roads, you're going to get hit by a chicken truck or a peach truck or a lumber truck. So we got to make these things, and that means we got to have pull-offs, and these pull-offs are expensive. The cheapest one's about $250,000, but that's where the vast majority of the money that we're looking for is going to be shown on. But if you all would please watch this video. This is a national group called the American Battlefield Trust that a number of eminent historians told them that the Revolutionary War was not won in Boston, New York, or Philadelphia. It was won in South Carolina. And that's why they came down here. They're going to set up 80 Revolutionary War sites for people to visit. And I would appreciate it if you would watch it, not only to listen to what it says, but also to consider the professionalism of the video itself. Would you please run that for me, sir?
Was it a dream? Those enraged and devoted hearts who fought for this field, for this road, for this swamp, who snuck like foxes from tree to tree, striking out at the British and then slipping through their grasp? No. A will for liberty took root here and sprouted into a revolution, our independence secured in the low and up country, across these swamps and pastures, forests and hills. The shot, heard round the world, rang out in the North as a rallying cry for American independence. In the Southern colonies, however, it served only to amplify the growing discord between American patriots and British loyalists. Pledge allegiance to a king sitting far across the Atlantic, taxing fruits born from Carolinian soil, or stand up to the crown with an inferior army? As stalemate gripped the war in the North, the High Command began to eye the Southern colonies, which were thought to harbor sympathy for the Crown, that the British believed could be leveraged into a loyalist army. Twice the British tried to capture the port of Charlestown, the gateway to the South, and finally they were successful in May of 1780. With the southern branch of the Continental Army in retreat, the British now had the foothold in the South to tip the balance of the war in their favor, and in time, snuff out the colonial uprising. But they underestimated the tenacity of Carolinians. Partisan militias had sprung up throughout the state. Inexperienced as they were, these men believed this land to be their own and were unshakable in their pursuit for liberty. Americans saw desperate and gruesome fighting. They were nearly destroyed at Waxhaws and Camden. But into this Carolina soil, they dug their heels, rising time and again to harass the British and finally prevailing over Loyalist and provincial forces at Musgrove's Mill and Kings Mountain. Word began to spread. A small band of patriots was defying the Crown's efforts to seize the southern colonies. Soon the Continental Army, along with the militia, achieved a cunning victory at Cowpens, setting into motion a string of events that saw the British split in two. One element surrendered at Yorktown, and the other eventually retreated to Charlestown, where they remained till war's end, bottled up by the very patriots they hoped to suppress. With over 200 battles and skirmishes fought within the state's borders, South Carolinians felt the full force of civil and global war. From 1780 to 1782 alone, more than 1,000 South Carolinians laid down their lives on America's road to liberty. But what remains of those intrepid days? Victory lies dormant, buried, and the hallowed grounds where the blood of those brave Carolinians was shed sits neglected and overgrown. The American Battlefield Trust has partnered with the South Carolina Battleground Trust to preserve these battlefields and unify them with the creation of the Liberty Trail. Sweeping across the state, the Liberty Trail is an innovative driving tour that will fully convey South Carolina's Revolutionary War story, bring tourism and economic development to local communities, and invite a larger audience to appreciate the state's contribution to American independence. The trail will feature brand new battlefield parks at Eutaw Springs, Camden, Waxhaws, Hanging Rock, and Fort Fairlawn, and make significant additions and improvements to existing parks. Each stop along the driving tour will feature unique on-site interpretations that will connect visitors to the extraordinary events that came to pass nearly 250 years ago. The Liberty Trail will honor the patriots that decided the Revolution's outcome in the swamps, fields, woods, and mountains of South Carolina. Those Carolinians blazed the trail to liberty. And all we've got to do is cut back the brush, clear off the path, and bring to light South Carolina's pivotal story in the American Revolution. Will you stand by as these battlefields slip further into obscurity? Or will you help us preserve these hallowed grounds and blaze the Liberty Trail?
Thank you all. I ask you to do two things, listen to what they were saying, but also to consider the professionalism. Some of you have watched documentaries on TV. I bet you've never heard a narrator pronounce the word war, W-A-R, in 4 syllables before. What they did, they hired a lady from Georgetown to do this. That's the professionalism that you're going to see in this. This was a video that was made about 2017, and we've been using it. It says 30 places. We're now at 80 places, all across the state. And again, we're trying to get people to come in. And the question normally is, well, will it work? Will anybody stop somewhere to see a Revolutionary War site? You all are different from most of the audiences I have. You know where 96 is. And you know how somebody coming from 26 would get to 96. Right through here. In 2020, the year of the pandemic, this is one of the smaller national park facilities in the country. 2020, the pandemic year, in 96, they only had 95,107 visitors. Now, you have to register with National Park. Those people the National Park Service says spent $5.7 million in South Carolina. Musgrove Mill, that same year. Now, Musgrove's Mill is way out in the middle of nowhere. Musgrove's Mill had over 70,000 visitors, and they spent $4.1 million. When you get up to Cowpens and Kings Mountain that they talked about, Cowpens is over 227,000 visitors, and that's $14.9 million. Kings Mountain is 246,000, but they only spent $10.2 million. If we can open up spots all across Newberry County for people who are going between these other spots and get you on the same app that they're talking about, because all of this is going to be circulating around something on your telephone. Now, everybody that's 10 years younger than I down believe that thing's more important than any teacher they ever had. But they'll listen to that. If we can get the people to come and spend money in South Carolina, in Newberry County, I think it'll be worthwhile. You've got a great committee. I hope you'll support him. All we wanted today was you all to make it the official committee, and they'll take it from there, and we'll be helping them with grants and with every bit of help we can. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk to you today.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much. Any questions or anything?
I appreciate all y'all work on this and educating the community.
Anybody else?
I'd also like to thank the Newberry County Committee of 250 for donating their time and effort and resources to recognize our 250th anniversary. Thank you.
All right. Next item on our agenda is a resolution number 06-22, which is a resolution authorizing an amendment to that certain fee agreement by and between Newberry County, South Carolina, and TrueCast LLC, and other related matters. I understand you're up for the next three, so just
yes, sir.
Come on up and let us have it.
Mr. Chair and other members of council, my name's Ray Jones. I'm a lawyer with Parker Poe. I've been working with the county on economic development matters, working with the county administrator, county economic developer, and the interim county attorney, just to make sure that when the county is approached with economic development opportunities, that the contracts are in order, and that you're taking the steps you need to take. So the first item, number 7, is actually good news. The company, TrueCast, has come to the county indicating they're planning on investing additional money, and rather than entering into a new agreement, they have the ability to simply extend their investment period under the old agreement. And so they are committing to increase their investment from $3 million to $8 million, and the document before you tonight enables the amendment of their old agreement to give them an additional 5 years worth of investment window under that old agreement. I'm glad to answer any questions. There's a resolution and a First Amendment attached to it. The resolution is the authorizing document. The First Amendment is what would actually extend the investment period by 5 years. There's no new benefits, but there are new commitments from the company here to increase their investment from $3 million to $8 million.
Okay, since we are able to do this by resolution because it is the continuation of a current contract, I just want to open up for questions before we even call for the first motion to see if there are questions by council before we take this vote. This is just an addition of 5 extra years to the fee in lieu of?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then is there a motion that we approve this resolution? Mr. Hipp is the first, Mr. Shealy is the second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor by show of hands, opposed likewise, the motion carries unanimously. Item number 8 on our agenda is Resolution 07-22, which is an inducement resolution committing to negotiate a fee in lieu of tax agreement between Newberry County and Newberry PV1 LLC, identifying the project and other matters related thereto. Okay?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. So as you noted, there are 2 items on the agenda that relate to this very same investment. There are 2 actions that council is being asked to take, and they're both required under the state's fee in lieu of tax statute. Item number 8 is a resolution which identifies, which is a legal term, identifies this project for fee in lieu of tax purposes. It provides that the county is going to commit to negotiate a fee in lieu of tax agreement with this solar farm investment. It provides some of the parameters of the investment, which include an $89 million investment commitment. And then effectively it points you to then what is number 9 on the agenda. So I'll stop there to see if there's any questions about number 8.
The first item item number 9, and the question for now is, do we agree to go into a resolution to negotiate with this contract? So is there a motion that we approve that resolution? Motion by Mr. Shealy, second by somebody. Did somebody do it? Okay, Mr. Reader. Is there discussion about the resolution to negotiate? Hearing none, all in favor by show of hands. Opposed likewise, the motion carries unanimously. Item number 9, related to this and first reading, is ordinance number 2022, which is an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee agreement by and between Newberry County, South Carolina, and Newberry PV1 LLC, providing for a payment of a fee in lieu of taxes, providing special source of revenue credits, and authorizing an amendment to the master agreement governing the Greenwood Newberry Industrial Park to provide for the addition of property and other matters related thereto. This is first reading. Is there a motion that this be first reading? Motion by Mr. Hipp, second by Mr. Shealy. Okay, now under discussion, we'll let you go ahead and tell us your stuff.
Yes, sir. I'll just go through just a couple of things since this is first reading. So the ordinance before you tonight actually approves the full fee in lieu of tax agreement. This agreement does a couple of things. Because this is a solar project, solar projects work a little bit differently. So there's a fee in lieu of tax here and then also a credit. The credit is designed to ensure that the solar provider only pays a certain amount per megawatt that they produce each year. So there could be slightly more in some years if they produce more megawatts, and we're asking them, and we'll be discussing with them later, to pay the county a floor no matter how much megawatts they produce here, which is a very common arrangement throughout the state for similar type investments. My understanding now is that the investment's going to be made on a vacant piece of property, and so all of the new revenues that would come from the solar farm investment would be new revenues to the county. So there are a couple of other things we discussed in advance of tonight's meeting after review with the economic developer and Mr. Inglesi, the county administrator, things that we want to make sure. There's some community commitments that we're going to incorporate into this document, but the gist of the incentives is a 30-year arrangement to enable them to pay a certain amount per megawatt that they produce with a floor. Right now, the floor is somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000, and that's part of what we'll be talking with them about before second reading. And it's an $89 million investment to be made in a solar farm that's on current vacant land.
Okay. Any questions from council?
This is not a question, but a comment. We did include in this agreement some buffer restrictions for those people that would be interested so that, we're protecting the neighborhood and the people along that road.
Okay. Anything else? All right, hearing none, there is a motion and a second standing on the floor. All those in favor indicate by the show of hands, and those opposed likewise. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Y'all have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Ray. Thank you. Item number 10 on the agenda is public comment. Signed up is Bob Montgomery. Thank you for being here, Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Council Chair and Council members. I'm here as a member of the city and live here, and also a member of the museum. And what I was going to do is just share with you a current scenario and an upcoming scenario. This past 3 months have been sort of exciting for us because we have a new executive director, and also we had a new exhibit, and she said yes. And to give you an update on that, we had over 2,800 visitors in the last 3 months come to our museum. Another fact that's sort of unique is we have over 26,000 Facebook contacts, over 26,000 Facebook contacts. So we have a very successful, it ended several days ago. We'll have a new exhibit coming up, and that will be on the, titled Newberry Coming Home. That's about the college. And many folks here don't know that the college was placed 5 different locations before we got it here in Newberry. So this will be an exhibit starting September 15th, running to the 1st of January. So we just invite everybody, and just want to share with you some real positives that's happening currently. I'll hand a card out for each council member on the invitation.
Okay.
And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you being here this evening and appreciate the update. All right, next on our agenda is appointments.
Mr. Chairman, before you leave public comments.
Yes.
I'm not sure if the students will be here after executive session, but I thought it'd be nice to recognize Professor Lambrese and his students that are here tonight.
Okay.
We got quite a crowd of students. If y'all
Yes, you got
stand
a
up
good
and
group.
be recognized. Thank you for coming.
You
Go
mean
ahead, don't
you're
be
not going to
shy.
make them stay for an executive session? Oh, I got you. Okay. Yes, sir.
These are all students from our American government classes, and we brought them here to kind of see government from the first hand. We appreciate the opportunity we've had to work with the county, look forward to working with more opportunities, but just students wanting to learn about a thing, and I think that's an important reflection on what we're moving forward in the future. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we thank y'all for being here. We congratulate you on being a Newberry College Wolf. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to any of us. I know you're not going to ask questions tonight because you're ready to go. So if you think of any, y'all can email us, and we'd be glad to try to answer those.
Can they all stand?
All the students. If you're here as a Newberry College representative, would you stand? Go Wolves. Yeah. Thank y'all very much for being here tonight. Only 2 more things and you can go. Well, actually, only 1 more thing. Number 11, appointments now. Thank you, Mr. Inglese, for pointing that out.
I have an appointment.
Okay.
To the Airport Commission, Millage Wilson has agreed to be appointed.
Okay, the motion by Ms. Airwood to appoint Millage Wilson to the Airport Commission. Is there a second? There's a second by Mr. Shealy. Is there discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Opposed likewise? The motion carries unanimously. Item number 12 on our agenda, so these folks can go home, is an executive session under Code Sections 30-4-70A of the South Carolina Code of Law, the Code of Laws of South Carolina as amended 1976. Item number 1 for our agenda, executive session, is discussion of employment, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, or release of an employee or student. Item number 2 under our executive session is discussion of negotiations incident to a proposed contractual arrangement and proposed sale or purchase of property, the receipt of legal advice where the legal advice relates to a pending, threatened, or potential claim, or other matters covered by the attorney-client privilege. Is there a motion that we go into executive session? Motion by Mr. Shealy, second by Mr. Reader. Any discussion? All in favor by show of hands. We will move out to executive session. Thank everybody for being here tonight. Motion by everybody, it's unanimous by motion. Motion by Ms. Airwood, second by Mr. Hill. Is there discussion? All in favor by show of hands, opposed likewise. Newberry County Council met in executive session for the aforementioned reasons. No actions were taken. Comments and requests from the county administrator.
Briefly, Mr. Chairman and Council, just wanted to give you an update on the grant services RFP that was published. We received 10 responses. We hope to get a recommendation to you tonight, but we need a little bit more time to review and score the proposals and narrow it down to 3 and have interviews, and we'll come back. We plan to come back on the 21st with a recommendation to move forward with the grant consulting services. One other update is we finalized the RFP for the public safety study today, and if it didn't get up today, it'll get up tomorrow. So we're moving forward on that. We did distribute it to the fire departments, the rescue departments for their input before advertising it. So it'll be advertised, and we'll hopefully be coming back with a recommendation. And just a quick update on the comp and classification study. We've got our data, which went through a painstaking process to perfect the data for the consultants. They are studying our data. We have them scheduled to be on site September 30th during my quarterly meeting with the elected officials and department directors. We'll have our regular scheduled meeting, and then that'll move right into interviews with elected officials and department directors. They'll also be on site the following Monday to do employee interviews and surveys. So that's moving forward, and we hope over the next 60 to 90 days they'll finish up their work. In the meantime, they have promised me an estimated cost of implementation in time for our October 10th Finance Committee meeting, which was rescheduled from the 3rd to the 10th. So we will have a implementation cost and be able to use that committee time to discuss some strategies for implementation.
I believe that was rescheduled to October the 11th.
Thank you. And with that concludes my remarks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shealy? Ms. Airwood?
No.
Reverend Scurry?
No, sir.
Mr. Reader? Mr. Hip?
Good night.
Yep. Future meetings, Finance Committee, September the 12th at 6 p.m. County Council meeting, September 21st at 6 p.m. Public Safety Committee meeting, September 26th at 6 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Shealy, second by Mr. Reader. All in favor by show of hands. We stand adjourned.